My friends, let's do this. AMC. This video is going to kind of be my weekly outlook as far as what I think might happen for this particular week. So, this video, I try to keep my videos a little bit shorter. I look at my YouTube algorithms. Most people usually watch my videos about 12 to 15 minutes. So, I try to keep it within that time frame. However, these weekly outlook videos might and probably will run a little bit longer. So, buckle up, strap in. Let's jump into it. Before we get going, as you guys know already, before I get started, the shameless plug. If you haven't already, please follow me on Twitter, Colin_Gladman. Easiest way to ask me questions. Also, too, easiest way to get my thoughts as far as if we see any news come out or, intraday price action or anything along those lines. Also, too, this video is strictly going to be based off of AMC. I am still digging into the HYMC, the gold acquisition company that AMC just bought into. My size of platform is getting to the point where I need to be super careful about the information that I put out, and not because I'm worried about anything, but just for me personally, I take responsibility whenever I put information out there. And so the news caught me off guard, and so I really want to make sure I feel like I dive into it and understand it before I put too much of my thoughts or feelings out into it. I will say this. Overall, I definitely like the idea. Makes a lot of sense. I've seen everything from, real quality ideas to real crazy conspiracy theory ideas floating around about it. And so I just want to take everything in. So I'm not going to be talking about that. I am keeping my eye on it. I will be looking at taking an entrance on it, a position on it, but just not yet for me. Okay, so if you were here hoping for more information about that, please feel free to go ahead and turn off the video. This is purely going to be diving into what I'm seeing as far as the chart and the technicals go. All right. I love the fact that AMC's fundamentals are improving on a day-to-day basis. The short thesis, in my opinion, is getting eroded every single day. We're seeing big movies coming back. People, in my hometown, and once again, I'm in Texas. We're crazy around here. I get that, but you just don't see masks anywhere anymore. You don't see anybody worried about gathering or anything like that. So I think that movie theaters, people are going to start going back more and more and more and more as an escape and a getaway and all that good stuff. So I think the fundamentals are improving. I think the box office will continue to improve, obviously. So they've got a ton of money in the bank. They're making investments. Adam Aaron's talking about playing offense. I like all of that. Once again, this video is going to be about diving into what I'm looking at chart-wise. So let's do that. Let's jump on in. So I said all week last week, I thought AMC would leave us on some form of a cliffhanger. I also said with the option chain that I think I tweeted, I won't go into that, but I tweeted out for sure that the market makers were going to burn the $14 and the $15 puts, in my opinion. That's absolutely what happened. We didn't get quite the push we were looking for to get us all the way up to the $16 calls going in the money, but overall, very good week for AMC altogether. So right here on the daily chart, I have since November the 16th locked in essentially this bearish trend line that has been pushing us down. We have lost a total of, let's see here, it got as bad as 70%, but currently 64% since that November the 16th. If I click on this white line, you can see this little blue indicator up here on TradingView shows that the line is locked in place, so I haven't messed with it at all. So as of right now, we are breaking out of that wedge. Now, that's the good news. The bad news is the volume increase isn't quite what I was hoping for when breaking out of this wedge. So there's definitely a chance that we could retrace or even come back into the wedge. You can see before we had some breakouts. I thought this might be it right here where we broke out. The volume wasn't great. We came back down, we retested, then we stayed above, but then eventually we collapsed back into it. It's just, once again, there just wasn't enough volume to continue to move upwards. So I'm starting to see. I have not. Full disclosure, I have not watched Rico's video. It was alerted on my phone. I think it was like yesterday it came out. I saw it was a pretty long video. I have not watched it. And the reason I don't watch Rico or Dave's videos, or really anybody else's videos before I ever put my videos or weekly thoughts out, is because I just don't want any type of bias. Yes, I agree with those guys a lot of the time. Yes, they're my buddies and everything along those lines. So this video I might be doing, it might be about to fully agree with Rico. It might be, it might be against him. So like I said, we'll see. But I know, and I've seen, that there is starting to be a lot of excitement about this fractal right here. Okay, and it is going to be, sorry, you think I know where all the little tools are on this, but it essentially is this fractal playing out right here again. You've got your little gap up, your M shape, and then are we towards the bottom, or are we at the bottom, and then we're curling up right here. And the answer is, I think it's definitely a possibility. I tweeted out yesterday a picture of my counter argument that it also could be, back here in the April area, right in here. So this is a pattern that definitely repeats quite often with AMC, and it does usually lead up to the runs. Now, whether that leads up to our push up here and then we get drugged back down before we then move back up, that is definitely a possibility. Remember who we're playing against, my friends. We're playing against people who are going to be, tugging on our heartstrings 24/7. So if you were on the other side, think like your enemy, if you will. If you were on the other side and you had the money and the ability to, kind of move markets around, would it not make sense to run it up here to, right around this $29 to $30 range before then pulling it back here, before then pushing back up? How many people, I can tell you right now, we start seeing over the next week or two a push back up into the 30s, and there's going to be lots of people who are just, buckle up, Moaz is starting, here we go. I promise you. I promise you it's going to happen. And nobody wants a Moaz or squeeze or anything like that more than me. I promise. I have a ton of AMC shares, and I look to add more. Those of you that follow me saw what happened with Mullen last week. I did very well with it. I will be using a portion of these proceeds to be buying AMC in the near future. It just depends on how I feel like the chart and the volume is looking. Will be based off of where I add to my AMC position. So that's definitely a possibility, okay? If we start moving back up to this support, so this support that was our support line from January 24th till we finally broke through it March 7th, so basically 6 to 7 weeks of support. If we come up to the top of this right around that, $16.50 to $17 range, if we do not have some decent volume that comes along with it, I promise you we will get rejected off of that and come back and at least touch the top of the wedge, if not spill all the way back down in here, and start coming down towards those, $12 to $10 range, okay? So we want to keep an eye on the volume. Now, if you go back here and look, all the volume leading up to these, bigger, larger runs was not substantial. It wasn't until we really had some, solid push-ups. Let's see here. This day would have been like a 30% day. So if we have that one random day that's a 30% day that has, somewhere around 300 million, shares traded, volume-wise, that would be very exciting for sure. I would be super pumped if that happens, okay? If we move up here and, we close at like $17 and it's, 40, 50 million in volume, I'm going to be like, yeah, we're probably going to get rejected and have to come back here, and retest the top of the wedge. The point of control on AMC, once again, pretty much since retail got involved. So how you look at point of control is it takes your last candle over here, or excuse me, your far left candle versus your far right candle, shows you all the volume. The buying pressure is in blue, the selling pressure is in yellow, and you can see that this $10 area is where a lot of people have, bought in and invested in the stock. So I mean, it was over a month ago. I put out a video that said AMC $10 or $20. Let's take a look. And we had the run to $20. Now we might have the run to $10. Obviously, that's not what I want. But at the end of the day, I'm a long-term investor. So I don't care. If it does go down to $10, I will be buying more. Once again, I just view that as one of my favorite products is on sale or clearance at that point in time. I don't believe that AMC fundamentally should be a $10 stock. So if it's a stock that I'm a long-term holder in and it goes back to $10, I will buy shares. I will average down on my position. So my largest position that I bought in was right back up here in November. I bought a lot of shares back up here. I always put my money where my mouth is. We broke out. We came back and retested. I bought a lot of shares, going into earnings and everything like that. And so as of right now, full disclosure, I am bag holding on AMC. Now, it's a long-term hold for me. So it's not money. I never invest with money on any type of long-term position that I'm going to need tomorrow or anything like that. So as far as I'm concerned, it's a great opportunity to average down. The fact that there are people out there saying, oh, sell all your AMC right now. I mean, we're at our local bottom and people are saying, go sell AMC and jump into other plays. That is crazy, especially if you're past, your long-term capital gains. That is just moronic in my opinion. But at the end of the day, as I always say, do what is best for you and your portfolio. You're the only one that is stuck with it. So in my most bullish case scenario is going to be pushing back up here towards this support with some decent volume. I would imagine once we push up in here and we get to like this $18 to $19 range, we would get rejected, come back and test support before moving back up towards the top of our long-term bearish trend line. If you've been following me for any amount of time, I have been talking about this, since back in here, since December, okay? Where from the all-time high to our two massive rejection points right here, this is going to be a big-time resistance point to get through. I said back here, that something, I think that we're going to see some big movements, before April or May to the upside or the downside. Obviously, my bias is to the upside. So, but if not, I'll buy more. Like I said, I don't care. What we want to see is, so once again, this is all looking at everything from a macro perspective. On my weekly outlooks, that's what I try to do the most. So we came down here, we had a bounce in the golden pocket, briefly broke the golden pocket right here, but never closed below it, and then touched the 0.65, and then had a nice push up. So this all looks very good and very bullish. The only thing that we don't have is we don't have the volume. I know I keep saying it. I know I keep harping on it. I know you get sick of hearing about it, but it is what it is. So if the volume isn't looking good, we're going to get smacked a little bit, especially if the overall market pulls back. Now, I do believe that since the Fed meeting, pretty much went exactly how everybody thought it was going to go, that I do think that pretty much all the interest rate hikes for this year and things of that nature are all for the most part going to be priced in. That's why I think we've seen so much, downward pressure for the last about 4 to 5 months. Lots of small to mid cap stocks have been beat up 50 to 80%. So I think now we're going to see some money rotating back in, and essentially we could kind of see, a real nice bull run in the future. If that happens, I definitely think AMC is going to be pushing back up here into these $20 and $30 ranges. And then, with the option chain and all that good stuff, it could only be good for us. So what I'm going to do is let's pull up the option chain for AMC. And once again, this is just looking at this week. So this week, the expiration is going to be March the 25th. So right now, 4 calls, not too much going on. And then I would imagine for puts, it's not going to be too much going on either. Yeah, decent amount at 16, but really nothing but blue skies after that as far as options are concerned. And then, of course, yeah, 20. 20 is going to be the biggest open interest as far as calls are concerned. There's also a decent amount of 18, 1750, 17, 16. So one thing that I talked about in previous videos was it's interesting that this week the highest strike you can do is up to $40. So I always said I would be surprised if they ever let it go on a monthly options expiration. So a week like this week, letting it push up a little bit where the highest strike is only up to $40. Once again, if you're the market makers, that makes a ton of sense in that situation. So overall, the option chain, it definitely looks way more bullish than bearish for sure. So if we can, get this little push up here, that would be nice. As far as our exponential moving averages are concerned, our EMAs, let me get rid of the volume here, or excuse me, the visible range. So $16 is basically going to be the 20 EMA. So if we start to recover the 20 EMA, that'll help us push up into support. Probably we get rejected off the 50. That would be the comeback and retest, and then hopefully push back up. So in a perfect world this week, let's see here, March 25th, I think finishing up, a very bullish, good-looking week would be coming up to the $20 range. A very bearish week would be coming down here, towards the bottom, right around that 12 to 11. So those are going to be kind of the ranges. So downside would be as bad as about $11, and then upside would be about as good as, the $20 range. I just don't know that I think there's going to be enough time this week for that, unless we got a good solid push either Monday or Tuesday, got kicked back down maybe Wednesday or Thursday, but then pushing back up on Friday. So that's starting to lead me to believe more of like the $18.50 to $19 range might be what we see this week, my friends. I would be surprised if they let these 20s go in the money, but the $17.50 and the 18 getting those in the money would be pretty good. So, and guys, I'm sorry, I just kind of sit here and analyze the chart, right along, side you. So I'm just kind of, as I go, if I see something, I might, change my mind. So I think realistically, somewhere around that 17.50 to 18 is going to be where we wind up this week. So overall, I think we might see a nice little move, this week, maybe like a 10 to 20% move, somewhere in that ballpark. Let's go back here and take a look at the weekly. That's a nice candle on the weekly. I hadn't looked at that. Once again, the volume's not great, but I would say this is a piercing line. Yeah, I would think so. So a piercing line candle is when the following candle pierces 50% of the candle before that. All right, here, let me just show you. Right here. It's a 2-candle pattern. It's a trend reversal pattern. Effective if found during a downtrend. Let's go back and look. I would say that's a downtrend. All right. First candle, red, bearish. Second candle, green, bullish. Both candles should be big. It qualifies as big. The green candle opens below the red. Open below the red. And green candle closes slightly below the top of the red. So it's not slightly below the top, but overall, once again, if the 50% will be right in here. So, I definitely like it. Okay, that looks good. That goes towards my bullish bias, if you will. So what's going to be about our 200? So yeah, the 200 EMA, once again, I like to say, Amy likes to leave us on cliffhangers. So pushing up to around that 18, that could definitely, be the case there. All right, let's go back to the daily. Let's look at our indicators. So indicator-wise, from a RSI standpoint, we got plenty of room to run. We're sitting at 45 on the RSI, so we're not even at neutral territory yet. plenty of room to run there if we start seeing some volume and push up. The RSI gets as high on Amy's big runs up to like 94. All right, so we've got plenty of room to run on the RSI. Let's go to the MACD, which he's starting to curl. Starting to cross. Yeah. If we get in here and look a little bitty. So the MACD did cross on Friday. That's a good sign of momentum. What's it looking like on the weekly? Let's go back to the weekly. What's our weekly MACD looking like? Starting to curl. Good sign. Go back to the daily. Let's look at the OBV. Okay. Yeah, so the OBV, once again, like I've tweeted out multiple times before, it's kind of giving us a bullish divergence where we have got overall, we got a downtrend in price, but we've got an uptrend on the OBV. The OBV matches buying and selling pressure. So once again, there's a lot more, buying than selling pressure on this stock. It's just the price hasn't met up with it yet. That's okay. Once again, it will. Just got to show that patience, and it's not fun. Like Warren Buffett says, the stock market's all about transferring money from the impatient to the patient. And I mean, if you look right here, I mean, if this doesn't, keep you bullish on AMC, my friends, I really just don't know what will. And we are forming a massive pennant right here on the OBV. And obviously, once again, my bias is that's going to break upwards. So OBV looks really solid. The only thing that doesn't look solid about AMC is the stock price, right? I mean, that's the reality of it. The fundamentals are doing nothing but getting better, right? There's more AMC investors, or at least the same amount of investors that there was previous before the June run. This last earnings call did that. Excuse me. Adam Aaron, talks about how they got plenty of money in the bank. The box office is recovering. They're investing in other businesses. The popcorn business is going to be rolling out this year. There's just everything looks good about AMC except the price. So this is when you really just have to chill and go along for the ride. Okay? So at the end of the day, once again, not financial advice. Do what is best for you. But I'm a bull on AMC. I'm long on AMC. I'm buying and I'm holding on AMC. Those that have been asking me about covered calls. So we have a really nice setup right now, especially if that cost to borrow keeps going up. Utilization has been at 100% for like 2-3 weeks now. If that stays that way and the cost to borrow keeps going up, I mean, once again, we could see some big moves. Mullen Automotive that I called out ran over 200% in a week. Okay? So if AMC moves 200% in a week, in 1 week we could be back here at the $48. Okay? I'm not saying that's what it's going to do this next week, but things can happen quickly. Okay? So just chill, average down when you can. If you believe in the play, if you don't believe in the play, you shouldn't have bought in the first place. Okay? So at the end of the day, I want to see continuation of the falling wedge breakout. We will probably, get kicked off support here. And this can happen in a day, but we'll probably get kicked down right here, come down, push back up, come down, retest. We'll get kicked off the 50-day EMA, all that kind of stuff. So finishing up, like I said, around that 1850 range, I think is probably going to be the most likely scenario for this week. And that's pretty much everything that I got. Pretty bullish overall. I think, like I said, I think near term upside is going to be what continues, especially if the market continues green. I've said time and time again till I'm blue in the face that AMC is tracking the overall market, and then until it's not. All right, so the overall market's doing well. IWM's doing well. AMC's going to do well, and if they're not, then they're not. Okay, so I think that's everything that I wanted to cover today. We went over the option chain, the indicators, the wedges. Yeah. I guess lastly, let's go look. Sorry, guys. I know I said that I was almost done, and I will be. So if we just look at a micro fib right here. Dude, I literally just did this with my BBIG video. So if you look right here, the 382 of 1467 would be if we kind of round out and come back here and touch and retest the top of the wedge before moving back up. The 382 and the 618 are your two most common fib retracements. And so that is going to be what I would be looking for. So with some of my dry powder, with some of my profits that I made with Mullen, and I know I just talked about the covered calls. I don't remember if I said this or not. So if I did, I apologize. I'm repeating myself. But as long as utilization stays 100%, so long as cost to borrow keeps creeping up or anything like that, I will not be doing any covered calls on AMC. And I never do them when I'm pretty bullish. And I'm pretty bullish right now. Obviously, I see the bearish options, but overall, I think moves to the upside make way more sense, especially with the market doing well. Moves to the upside make way more sense than moves to the downside. So I will not be doing any covered calls. I will probably play some cash secured puts at either maybe like this 1450 range or even this 14 range. We'll kind of wait and see. I usually enter those positions either like Monday or Tuesday because AMC has a habit of running hard on Monday and Tuesday and then pulling back and getting pinned towards the end of the week. So I'll just kind of see how the week unfolds. But I think if you're looking at buying, you got some dry powder for AMC. If we come back here and touch the top of this wedge around that 1450, that would be a good entry point. The 618 at 13, basically $14, $13.97 to $13.88 would be a good place to enter. And then of course all the way down to the 786. We know on a shorter time frame, Amy loves her 786s, so that $13.50 as well. And then on upside targets, a bunch of people keep asking me about what would be my upside target, for this next run. And the answer is simple. It's the 3.618 on the fib extension. You go from your low to your high to your low. That 3.618 was 21.95, and pre-market on the January run, AMC just barely went over that. I think it hit like 22. If you do the same thing from your buy button collapse to your top of your June run, assuming we're at our low now, that's going to take us up to that 251 area. So that 250 area, if we did get a huge squeeze / gamma run, and you can see right here that the 3.618 predicted this top. You go here to the buy button collapse. The 3.618 almost hit it perfectly. So the 3.618 on a big run is going to be what my targets would be as far as tops are concerned. So right around that 250 range. No, I'm not saying that that's the ultimate top or anything along those lines. Shut up. Okay? Some of you guys drive me bananas on that kind of stuff. But 2 times before, that has been the top of the run before retracement, before another run. So if you believe that's it for AMC, then that would be the time to get out. If you believe that MOAs are a bigger squeeze as possible, then it's time to just be like, oh, cool. All right, now just keep holding, okay? So anyway, that's everything for this week. So If it's a normal week in the markets and in AMC, I'm thinking up to around that, like I said, somewhere between 1750 to 1850, I think is our upside targets. Downside targets wise, which once again, I would be surprised. Okay, so I would be surprised for us to roll over and have a really bad week, but if something crazy happens, I haven't seen any crazy news out of Russia or Ukraine or anything like that yet, but that would be. I just don't see reasons for a big downside week. So I think definitely leaning more bullish. I would say I'm about 70 to 80% bullish, 20 to 30% bearish as far as what I think the possibility would be. So on my channel, I always try to give you guys what do I think is the most likely thing to happen. And I think the most likely thing to happen is upside up to around that $18 range. But with volume, all things are possible. Okay, so if we get massive volume, we can see some massive pushes, not just with AMC, but with virtually every stock. So, you guys, hope you have a wonderful weekend, or had a wonderful weekend. Weekend's almost over. It's almost back to work time. Ever since I really started getting involved in the stock market a few years ago, man, it's like the weekends aren't near as fun anymore. It's like you almost get excited for the work week, but I love my job anyway. So, y'all be good. I will see you on the flip side. Let's have a good week. I think we will. Let's have a good week.